Today I'm going to give you a demo of Vertex 42's personal budget spreadsheet. This spreadsheet will help anybody put together a budget. This spreadsheet looks at 12 months and many different common categories and allows you to put in different budget numbers in order to look at your budget for the year and to look at special situations for the year. The personal budget spreadsheet is great for the individual who is trying to get on top of their budget. If you're looking for something for a family, try Vertex 42's Family Budget Planner, which is almost identical to the personal budget spreadsheet, except that it comes with additional expense categories geared towards the family. In order to use this template, simply download it from Vertex 42. I have here a freshly downloaded copy of the spreadsheet. So the first thing you want to do once you download it is to start putting in information. Now this would typically be information that you know based off information from prior months or prior years. So in this case, I know that my starting balance is $3,500. Then you're going to come in here and you're going to start putting in sources of income. Now most people typically have some kind of wage information. What I'm going to do is put in a formula here. Let's say I make $45,000 a year. So I'm just going to divide that number by 12 and basically get $37.50 per month. Now I can just simply left click on it and then grab this little box in the bottom right corner here and drag it over to fill that in for every month thereafter. Now with interest rates being low currently, perhaps I don't make very much on interest income. I'm going to just do $12 per month since I don't really have too much savings, and I don't really have any dividends, so in that case I could either just leave it blank or I can delete that category if I'm not interested in it. And then I do get a few gifts once in a while for my birthday in April here, so let's say $200 what I'll probably get, and maybe I say $300 around Christmas time or the holiday season. This might be based off past history or just a guesstimate for the year. And the rest of these are really I don't need to put anything in these for now. I'm just going to leave them blank, or you can go ahead and fill them with zeros. Now I'm going to come down to the home expense category. This is where a good chunk of your expenditures will be. And let's say I'm going to rent here. I'm just going to go ahead and put in my current rent, $550 a month, and I'm going to copy that over. And then I'm going to do the same thing for all these other categories here. Now again, I'm just going to use information that I know from past years. So $45 there, roughly $50 a month on electricity, gas, natural gas or oil, $42, water, sewer, $7. Anyway, I'm just going to keep going through here, putting in numbers. You get this from phone bills. You can look at bank account statements. You can look at pricing on the internet, whatever it is that you can find to help you fill out this information. So in this case, I'm going to assume that all stays steady for the year, and I'm just going to highlight that whole section there and then again drag it off to the right. So now I'm going to come down here and look at transportation. If say I have a car and I've got some payments on that car still, so that one I'm going to go ahead and copy. And now I get to one that maybe I don't have it every month, but I'm going to say $350 in March, and then I'm going to have to pay that again in September. So if you look off to the right over here, you'll see that $700 a year, or roughly $58 a month if you want to put that money aside so you have it there when it's time to write these checks. Then I've got fuel prices, let's say $150 a month because I have a commute of a fair distance to work every day, and I don't really take the bus because of my current housing situation. And I maybe average $25 in at least oil changes here every few months. And I do have to register my car again here in July, so I'm going to put $200 there for registration fees. And the rest of that's going to be left empty. I don't really have any other cost right now. Now if you knew, for example, you got to buy new tires for your car this year, or you needed to do some other significant work to get on your car to get it up to safety inspections or others, you'd probably want to put that in the other category here. Now I'm going to look at health insurance. Let's say out of my paycheck I have to pay for portions of my deductible. Again, I'm going to do $110 there for that first month. I got some doctor I have to pay. Maybe I have health club dues of $20 a month, and then I can again just highlight that section and drag it over to fill that in. And now I've got my healthcare pretty much finished for the year. You know, if I had a dog or a cat, I might have some veterinarian. If I had life insurance, I could put that information in here. If I have high deductibles or copays, I might want to work that information into. And again, historical information's great here so that you can kind of find an average number for the year. Now I'm going to look at charity and gifts. There's just another section here. This may or may not apply to you. So I know I've got to give my parents an anniversary gift in March, and then at Christmas time I've got some nieces and nephews and parents to buy gifts for, and I like to save the planet and do my part, so I've got some donations I do every month, and then I may not have any other donations. That's, again, personal preference. I wanted to take a second here and show you another little trick that will help you keep track of what these numbers mean as you look at your budget over the next year. For example, I just put this $150 in, and that I know right now that's for an anniversary gift, but 6 months from now I might have forgotten what that was for. All I need to do is left click on it and then right click, and then you go to insert comment. At this point it gives you a little box and you can type in their anniversary gift, and then you just click off of it. And now anytime you hover over that cell with the little red triangle, it'll tell you that it's for an anniversary gift. I can do the same thing on this 400 number here. Right click, insert comment, and then I go Christmas gifts. Again, left click off, and if I hover over it, I can tell what that number was for. This tip works well to keep track of the different values that you're entering into your budget so that you can remember them a year from now. Alright, now we're going to move on to the next category, which is daily living. It's probably the second largest category. It's amazing how much this stuff adds up, and going through this exercise really helps you understand where you're spending your money. So now I'm going to look back, and historically perhaps I spend $300 a month, and again I'm going to put $25 in personal supplies. We'll just make that on average. Now if I do a lot of entertaining, or if I have some parties in a specific month, I might have a bump in those numbers, and I can change that. Clothing, I'm not super into it, but I do have to have stuff to wear, but we'll just do $200 every other month here. I'm just simply copying that with Control C and pasting with Control V. Now I do like to get my clothes dry cleaned rather than doing a lot of laundry myself, so I end up spending quite a bit on that. While being single and on the move, I definitely eat out a lot, and when I looked at my receipts, I was spending about $500 a month eating out, only cooking at home a few days a week. And then I gotta get my hair cut once a month. See, all these little things just kind of add up. And again, I don't have a pet, but if you had one, you could put that in there, and you may have some other daily living expenses that you could list. So moving on to one of the last categories here, you got entertainment. I don't really buy videos, so I'm going to go ahead and put a 0 in here. Here's another way to enter information. Highlight the section you want to fill in. Type in this case, a 0, and then if you hit Control Enter, it'll actually enter all that information in for you to all those cells. Just another way to do it. I do have my iTunes account, and I spend on average $15 a month. I don't really play games, not my thing, so again I'm going to highlight 0, Control Enter. I do Redbox quite a bit, so I'm going to put a 5 in here. I like to go to summer movies. Typically in the summer I'll go to a few here, and then maybe around Christmas time. Now if you're dating or paying for others, you may want to make sure to account for that money in here too. Concerts and plays, I'm going to come back to this section later. Don't really do books, but I do have some hobbies that I like to do that cost me about $15 a month. Flying my remote control airplanes, things like that. I don't have any trips planned yet, but there are a few trips I want to take and some sporting events I want to go to, but I'm not sure if I have the budget for those, so I'm going to come back and talk about those here in a few minutes. So moving on to savings, this is where I kind of budget myself to save money. I want to make sure that I'm saving so that I can do well down the road. So I'm going to go ahead and save 15% of everything I make into my 401k and IRA. I'm just going to have that automatically deposited. So I'm going to use a formula here. I'm going to put equals, and then you just type in 15%. Make sure you put the percent on there, and then you're going to go times, and now in this case I'm just going to scroll up to the wage and tip amount. I'm just going to click on that, and then I'm going to hit enter, and you'll see that it automatically fills in 15%. So I don't have to worry about calculating that. And right now I don't have any other savings area that I'm going to save under, so I'm going to leave that. And then I'm moving on to obligations. I don't have any loans, student loans, but I do have some credit card debt I'm trying to pay off. And looking at it and how much my balance is, I basically have through June that I'm going to have to pay on my credit card here. So I'm going to put those in there just for the first 6 months, and after that I'm hoping to be out of credit card debt. And I do have to pay my federal taxes. I'm just going to assume I'm in that 15% bracket again, and I'm going to just put in a formula again like I did before, multiply it by my wages here, and I've got to pay those taxes. And I just so happen to live in a state without any state taxes, so I'm just going to put zeros in there. And then I'm going to look at subscriptions. I don't really take the newspaper, magazines, but I do have a few things like Netflix and Hulu, so I could have put those somewhere else, but I'm going to show you how to add a category if you want. You just simply come in here and you're going to copy a row. And the way you do that is highlight a row, and you're going to right click on it, and then you're going to go to copy, and then you're going to come over and you're going to again right click and you're going to insert copied cells. So I want to insert that, and then I can change that to let's just call it Netflix, and that's $12.99 a month, and I'm just going to copy that over. Just another way to do it, Control C and V. Now you do want to make sure that your formulas are right over here, so it looks like everything's adding up right. Inserting, as long as you insert between the first and the last, you're typically okay. Alternatively, I could just rename a category if I want to do that. And I don't have anything else under subscriptions and don't have anything under miscellaneous. So now I've entered in all this information. We can look up here at the summary to see how I'm actually doing with just my known expenses based off last year's numbers. So if I look at this, I basically can see my total income and my total expenses for each month. And then you get the net amount. Now, in some cases, I'm spending a little more than I'm making for that month. And if I was to go look at it, it was probably due to some payment that was due that month. So let's look at this $560, for example. I might find, if I look through my numbers, a $200 clothing amount that month, which I don't have the months before and after. And I might also have gifts that I'm giving that month. So I seem to be okay. It's just that month's going to be a little lean. And then I have my projected in balance here. Remember, I put in 3,500 as my starting balance, and if I look at the bottom balance down here, there's months where I dip below it, but then based on not spending so much and saving some of that money, I'm going to end up basically about $1,100 more than what I started with, assuming I stick to my plan here. So I went ahead and put this budget together, and now I can use it to look at some decisions in my life that I want to make and see how those decisions will impact my financials. So one of the first things I want to look at is whether or not I can afford to move downtown into a more expensive condo townhome. So I'm going to go back up here to my living home expenses here. This decision to move into a more expensive townhome is going to have some ramifications. So basically, if I move in August, my rent's going to go from $550 to $1,100 a month. So if I go ahead and change that, I need to copy that over. But typically when you make that kind of decision, there's impacts on other areas. So now I'm going to check some of these other categories. My electricity is probably going to go up, so if I make that $65 a month, and my gas bill is going to go up because this is a bigger unit now. I've got to actually pay more to heat it, so I'm going to go to 50, and I'm going to probably use a little more water, not much, put $1 in there. So now there's actually some positives. Living in a townhome with the homeowners association, I actually get my cable and internet provided. So I'm going to highlight those rows and press 0 and control enter again just to replace those all with a 0. But now I've got some furnishings. You know, I've got this new place. I'm going to have to get some more stuff. So $300 that first month and $150 the next month. And then my last thing I have to do is, now that I've got a homeowners association, I've got to pay, $150 a month in dues. That takes care of a lot of things, but I've got to make sure I put that in my budget. Now, some other impacts this is going to have on my life is I'm not going to have as big a commute anymore, and I'm going to be downtown to where I can take advantage of some of the public transportation. So I'm going to basically cut my gas bill down from $150 a month to $30, and then just copy that over. And now all of a sudden I'm going to be taking the bus and train at times, and I looked at ticket prices, and I think I'm going to be spending about $60 a month, which is a fair amount, but still overall a lot cheaper So now I've got most of those ramifications put into my financials, and I can look at it now to see how it's going to affect me financially. So if I come back up here and look at the projected imbalance, I can see that I'm doing okay the first few months, but as soon as my rent and all that goes up, I'm actually starting to lose money every month. And the net result is at the end of the year, I'm going to be down about $2,300. And if I was to forecast that into the next 12 months, I basically would be losing money every month, and I don't have enough income to do that. Now I've got some options of how I could handle that. One thing is I can look for ways to make more money. I can also look for ways to save money in other areas of my budget. So I'm going to just use this tool to kind of glance through and see if there's something that I might be able to get rid of. And I could sell my car once I move, and that would save me some money, but I need the car to do some of the hobbies that I like to do, so to me that's really not an option. I can look at decreasing some of my daily living expenses here. Let's see. I could spend a little less on groceries. I don't really eat all that well at home as is, so perhaps I'm going to leave that. I could do my own laundry, so there's some savings there. I'm going to maybe I don't do dry cleaning quite so much. I'm going to have a washer and dryer in my new place, so I'm just going to have to step up and do my own laundry. So I'm going to knock that down to $10 a month for some of the items I still have to get dry cleaned. Now here's probably a big one. I could probably eat out a lot less. So maybe I just plan on doing that all year in preps. Let's say I cut that just in half. So I'm going to go ahead and put $250 on all those. Now if I come back up and look at my projected imbalance numbers, I'm up almost $1,000 by the end of the year just by basically cutting my dining and eating out number in half. What this tool's helping me understand is if I really want to afford this nicer place downtown, I'm going to have to make some other changes in my life. In this case, I'm going to have to eat out a lot less and eat at home. So now I've got this tool set up and it's helping me make these decisions. A couple other things that I wanted to look at to see if I could afford is there's a couple of concerts and trips and things I want to do. Let's go ahead and go back down to the entertainment section here. Now there's a couple options. I've got some buddies going to March Madness. Now tickets there are pretty expensive. I'm going to probably spend about $500 on different tickets for those games, and I've got to pay for all my travel there, and we're going to share some rooms, so overall it's about $1,500. So I'm going to look at that one, and you'll see that that's already chewed into my budget for the year, and that I'm spending more for the year overall than I'm going to make. So I already know that in order to do that concert, I'm going to have to dip into savings or sacrifice something else like not paying off my credit card debt or not saving as much in my retirement accounts. So some other decisions that I wanted to look at was, the new iPhones are going to be coming out. I'm actually going to put that under gadgets here, $500 for that. Some accessories, that's going to be great. And there's a ski trip I want to go on in December with some friends. And again, that's lift tickets and all the rentals for several days, plus airfare and hotel again. Now you can see that I'm really chewing in, and my budget's not balancing very well, and I'm going to be about $2,400 short for the year if I go on do all these different activities. So it's decision time. I really need to decide: do I want to move? Do I want to go on these trips? What's more important to me? And all this is personal opinion and preference, so you just need to decide for yourself. But in this case, I'm going to decide that memories are probably more important than the moving. So let's go back. I'm just going to undo some of those home expense things that I did earlier. And I'm just going to assume that everything's the same. And let's see how, if I decide to do the trips and not move. And I also have to, there's a few transportation ones in here I got to get rid of just to double check here. And I'm going to copy this one over for my gas. My apartment's not too bad, so I'm just going to go ahead and live with it. And now you can see I'm still up about $1,000 for the year. So in this case, maybe I'm going to decide to go ahead and take those trips with friends and enjoy the basketball in March and the skiing and the snowboarding in December. So this demo, I showed you how to use the personal budget spreadsheet to look at 12 months and prepare a budget plan that you can follow to help you keep your finances under control, along with information for some of the decisions that you might be trying to make. Those could include changing living locations, changing jobs, what if you lost a job, special trips or purchases you'd like to do, perhaps you want to buy a house. All those things can be analyzed using the personal budget spreadsheet. Remember that if you have a family and want a few additional categories, look at the family budget planner. Other things you might check out on Vertex 42, if you would like to actually track your monthly expenses against a budget, you can look at the personal monthly budget spreadsheet, and you can also look at the budget calculator. If you're interested in tracking your expenses by transaction, much like you would do with Quicken or other financial software, check out Vertex 42's Money Management Template, which allows you to record transactions for different accounts and then provides budgeting tools much like the ones you saw in this demo.